My name is Allison, I'm 35 years old, and I never expected my own sister-in-law Vanessa to stoop so low. Just hours before my daughter Heather was set to perform at the regional dance competition, I returned to the dressing room to find her beautiful costume torn to shreds. Vanessa stood there, scissors in hand, sneering, "Now my girls will win for sure." My blood boiled with a rage I had never felt before. What she showed me next left me utterly speechless. Dance was always my passion. My childhood bedroom walls were plastered with posters of famous dancers, and I spent every spare moment practicing in front of my mirror. The pain of losing that dream was something I carried with me for years. I channeled my passion into teaching at a local studio, while pursuing a degree in physical therapy. That's where I met Eric, a kind and supportive physical therapist who helped with my rehabilitation. We fell in love, got married, and when our daughter Heather was born, I saw a second chance at the dream I had lost. Heather showed natural talent from the moment she could walk. I was careful not to push her, but it was clear that she had inherited my passion along with a natural grace that made my heart swell with pride. Eric and Vanessa grew up in a household where achievement was everything. While Eric channeled that upbringing into healthy ambition, Vanessa developed an unhealthy obsession with winning at all costs. Whose baby walked first, talked first, read first. Every milestone became a battleground. I tried to stay above it, but Vanessa made it impossible to ignore. "My girls are naturally gifted," she would say at family gatherings. "They don't need to practice as much as Heather does." Both Heather and the twins were performing in the same recital. Somehow, Heather's music file got corrupted right before her performance. When the girls were 12, Vanessa accidentally spilled coffee on Heather's costume bag at a local competition. After that, I began preparing for Vanessa's sabotage attempts, always bringing extras of everything. This particular competition was different. This wasn't just another trophy. We had spent months preparing, working with choreographers, and selecting music that would showcase her technical skills and emotional depth. The designer had worked with professional companies and created something that made Heather look like she belonged on a professional stage. The dress cost nearly $2,000, a huge investment for our family. The night before the competition, we checked into the hotel where the event was being held. The grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel had been transformed into a performance venue with professional lighting and a sprung floor installed specifically for the dancers. We're on the same floor too. How convenient. Eric, who had taken the day off to drive us to the competition, sensed the tension and quickly ushered us toward the elevators. "Let's just focus on tomorrow," he whispered to me. "Don't engage." That night, Heather could hardly sleep from excitement. Her best friend and dance partner Jasmine had arrived separately with her family and came to our room to practice one last time. The girls had been inseparable since kindergarten, and although they sometimes competed against each other, their friendship never suffered. Jasmine was performing in a different category, so they wouldn't be direct competitors this time. I watched them with a mixture of pride and nervousness. The stakes felt so high, and I couldn't shake the feeling that Vanessa was planning something. Heather was up at 5 a.m., too excited to sleep. I can feel it. We had planned everything down to the minute, allowing time for hair, makeup, warm-up, and mental preparation. "We thought we'd wish Heather good luck," Vanessa said, stepping into our room without waiting for an invitation. "Well, confidence is important," Vanessa replied with a slight smirk. "Even when it's misplaced. Girls, we should get going. Our private warm-up room is reserved for 8:30. "I'm sorry about my sister. I wish she could just let the girls enjoy their passion without making it so cutthroat." "It's not your fault," I assured him, though part of me wished he would stand up to Vanessa more firmly. "We're used to her games by now." The energy was electric, a mixture of excitement and nerves. Heather's teacher, Miss Diana, was waiting for us near the warm-up area. She had taken a special interest in Heather, seeing the same potential that I did. Under her guidance, Heather had blossomed from a talented child into a young artist with presence and emotional depth. "There's my star," Miss Diana said, giving Heather a warm hug. They disappeared into the warm-up room while I checked in at the registration desk and collected Heather's competitor number. It was his hospital. "I have to go," he said apologetically after a brief conversation. "But the competition," I protested, feeling a flutter of panic at the thought of facing Vanessa alone. I know, and I'm so sorry. I'll try to make it back for Heather's performance. He kissed me quickly. Text me updates. Just like that, I was on my own. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that this day was about Heather, not about my issues with Vanessa. I hesitated to leave her, but Miss Diana assured me she would stay with Heather until I returned. Take your time, she said. We still have plenty of time before her category. Oh, Allison, she said with exaggerated surprise. Before I could respond, she brushed past me, her perfume lingering in the air along with my growing sense of dread. At that moment, the door opened again and Vanessa reappeared, this time with the twins and Miss Diana. Oh my goodness, Vanessa exclaimed with obviously fake concern. What happened to your beautiful dress, Heather? Like you don't know, I spat out, fury rising in my chest. Are you accusing me of something? Vanessa's eyes narrowed dangerously. I saw you coming from this direction, looking very pleased with yourself, I said, stepping closer to her. And suddenly, Heather's dress is destroyed. What a coincidence. Now my girls will win for sure, she added in a whisper only I could hear. I felt rage building inside me, my hands shaking with the effort not to physically lash out at her. Her chance at a scholarship. Months of hard work destroyed by jealousy and pettiness. Mom, Heather called from behind me, her voice surprisingly steady. Instead, a strange calm had come over her face, almost like she was trying not to smile. Mom, relax, she whispered, pulling me close. Follow me, Heather said quietly, taking my hand and leading me away from Vanessa's triumphant smirk. We walked into a small alcove near the dressing room where we could speak privately. Remember last year at the Valentine's showcase? Heather asked, her eyes now twinkling with something that looked suspiciously like amusement. How could I forget? The night before the performance, we discovered her costume had mysteriously disappeared from the dressing room. We never found it, and Heather had to perform in a hastily altered dress borrowed from another dancer. Despite the setback, she had danced beautifully, but I knew she had been devastated. Mom, the dress Aunt Vanessa just destroyed was a decoy. Miss Diana and I suspected Aunt Vanessa might try something like this again. So we came up with a plan. Remember that old blue dress from last season that we were going to donate? We took it to the same designer and had him add similar crystal details to make it look like my real competition dress. It cost us an extra $100, but Miss Diana said it would be worth it as insurance. The real dress has been with Jasmine's mom since yesterday, Heather explained. We figured it was the last place Aunt Vanessa would look. The child I had been so worried about protecting had outsmarted us all. But why did you cry when I came in? I asked, still trying to process this turn of events. Heather exchanged a guilty look with Jasmine. My daughter, my beautiful, brilliant daughter, had refused to be a victim. Instead of getting angry or giving up, she had strategized and problem-solved. Speaking of Miss Diana, she appeared at that moment, looking concerned until she saw us huddled together with the real costume. Heather, I'm so proud of your foresight. This is exactly the kind of thinking that separates good dancers from great ones. You always taught me to stand up for myself, but to be smart about it. Getting angry and yelling at Aunt Vanessa wouldn't fix anything. This way, we win without stooping to her level. We still have 90 minutes before your category. Plenty of time to get ready. Would you like to play along a little longer? Let Vanessa think she's won. I considered this for a moment. Part of me wanted to march right back to the dressing room and reveal Heather's clever plan to Vanessa's face. But another part, the part that had endured years of her petty competitiveness and underhanded tactics, liked the idea of letting her believe she had succeeded. What do you think, Heather? I asked, deferring to my daughter. It's your competition. I think, Heather said slowly, that the best revenge is success. Let her think she's won until the moment I walk on stage. In that moment, I saw my daughter not just as my child, but as a young woman of principle and intelligence. She wasn't interested in humiliating Vanessa or creating more drama. She simply wanted to dance her best and let her performance speak for itself. We returned to the dressing room to find Vanessa still there, supposedly consoling the twins, but really watching the door for our return. These things happen at competitions. Perhaps it's a sign that Heather should wait until next year when she's more prepared. We'll figure something out, I said vaguely. If there's anything we can do to help, Vanessa offered, not meaning a word of it. The girls have extra costumes, though they might be a bit small for Heather. Thank you, but we'll manage, I said stiffly, playing along with our charade. As Vanessa left with her daughters, she made sure to speak loudly enough for the other dancers and parents in the vicinity to hear. Such a shame about Heather's costume mishap. Some girls just aren't meant for the pressure of competition. Jasmine, take Heather and the real costume to the auxiliary dressing room on the second floor. No one will look for you there. Allison, stay here and pretend to be frantically trying to repair the torn dress. Make it convincing. I pulled out a small sewing kit from my emergency bag and began making a show of trying to stitch it back together, knowing full well the damage was beyond repair. Other dance moms soon gathered around, offering sympathy and assistance. I was touched by their genuine concern, especially when several offered pieces of their own daughters' costumes to help create something wearable. Last season, she spread a rumor that my Katie had been disqualified for breaking rules just so parents wouldn't vote for her in the Audience Choice Award. She once told the judges my Zoe had been taking professional coaching, which is against amateur rules, added another mom. We had to provide proof that her teacher was registered with the association. For the next hour, I kept up the pretense, periodically dabbing at my eyes and looking distressed whenever Vanessa or anyone who might report back to her walked past. I don't know what we're going to do, I lamented into the phone. What happened? Is Heather okay? Meanwhile, on the second floor, Heather was being transformed. Jasmine handled Heather's makeup, applying it with the skill of someone who had been watching YouTube tutorials for years. Through text updates, I kept track of their progress while maintaining my act of despair in the main dressing area. As the time for Heather's category approached, I slipped away, telling the sympathetic dance moms that I needed a moment alone. She looked like a professional dancer, ready to take the stage of any major company. You look absolutely beautiful, I told her, feeling tears spring to my eyes. Real ones this time. You'll make me cry. And Jasmine spent forever on this makeup. Miss Diana appeared at the door. They're calling for your category to line up backstage. Are you ready? More ready than I've ever been. You've got this. Just dance like you do in practice when you think no one is watching. Heather smiled, recognizing the familiar ritual. As Heather took her place in line with the other competitors, I slipped into the audience. I spotted Vanessa in the third row center, a prime viewing position. Just parked. Coming in now. Did I miss Heather? Not yet, I texted back. Hurry. Moments later, Eric slid into the seat beside me, looking harried and confused. I'll explain everything, I promised. I sat through the first 8 performances in a state of nervous anticipation, barely registering the other dancers. And then the announcer called Heather's name. From my peripheral vision, I could see Vanessa leaning forward with a satisfied smirk, obviously expecting Heather to be a no-show or to appear in some hastily assembled replacement costume. And then my daughter stepped onto the stage. Her posture perfect, her presence commanding. Heather had chosen this music carefully with Miss Diana, selecting something that would showcase both her technical skills and her emotional range. There was a fluidity to her motion, a connection between music and movement that can't be taught. During a series of fouettes, a notoriously difficult turning sequence that had given Heather trouble in practice, I glanced over at Vanessa. The twins were watching with wide eyes, their expressions a mixture of jealousy and awe. As Heather moved into the final sequence of her routine, the music swelled to its emotional peak. The final pose held for 3 beats as the music faded, and then the ballroom erupted in applause. People were standing, something that rarely happened at these regional competitions. As she exited the stage, I turned to Eric. You stay here and save our seats. The twins perform soon, and then they'll announce the finalists. Eric, still looking bewildered, nodded. I'll fill you in later, I promised, already making my way toward the backstage area. Miss Diana stood nearby, looking like a proud mother hen. I did it, Mom. I didn't miss a single step. I have never seen you dance like that before. The twins trailed behind her, already in their costumes for their upcoming performance. That was quite a surprise. How did I what, Aunt Vanessa? Heather asked innocently. For a moment I thought Vanessa might actually admit what she had done. A flicker of shame crossed her face as she looked at her niece, standing tall and confident after delivering the performance of her young life. How did you manage to repair your costume so perfectly? She asked instead, sticking to her pretense of innocence. That dress was beyond saving. This is my real competition costume. You're real. Vanessa trailed off, comprehension dawning. The one you destroyed was a decoy, I explained quietly, keeping my voice low so that only our small group could hear. Heather and Miss Diana suspected you might try something, so they prepared a backup plan. Vanessa's face flushed red. She opened her mouth to respond but was interrupted by the competition announcer calling for the next category, which included the twins. Good luck with the results, Heather. There had been a time when the girls were very young when they had all been friends, before Vanessa's competitive nature had poisoned their relationship. I hope they dance well, Heather said, surprising me with her generosity. Heather shrugged. It's not their fault their mom is so intense. Besides, I already won today no matter what the judges decide. I looked at my daughter with newfound respect. We returned to our seats in time to watch the twins perform. That's my girl, he said, beaming at Heather, who sat between us. After all the competitors had performed, there was a brief intermission while the judges deliberated. The atmosphere in the ballroom was electric with anticipation. When the judges returned, the head judge took the microphone. We have seen some exceptional talent today, she began. Before we announce our finalists, I want to commend all of our dancers for their hard work and dedication. Heather squeezed my hand so hard I thought she might break my fingers. Both twins had made the finals as well. They had worked hard too, regardless of their mother's tactics. For once, she wasn't looking at us with smugness or hostility. But for tonight, we had already achieved a victory more important than any trophy or scholarship. Heather had stood tall in the face of sabotage, refused to let bitterness affect her performance, and danced with a joy and authenticity that no amount of scheming could diminish. Heather had slept well, confident in her performance and ready for the finals. May I join you? She asked, her voice lacking its typical sharp edge. Have a seat, he told his sister. She fidgeted with her napkin, seemingly unsure how to begin. The girls are still sleeping, she finally said. Heather too, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. Another silence fell, broken only by the clinking of cutlery against plates from nearby tables. Eventually, Vanessa took a deep breath. I need to talk to you about what happened yesterday, she said, her eyes fixed on the tablecloth. With the dress. Heather, who had been quietly eating her pancakes, looked up with interest. Which dress, Aunt Vanessa? The real one or the decoy? Vanessa flinched at the direct question. Yes, you did, Eric said firmly. I don't know what's wrong with me, she whispered. That doesn't excuse what you did, he said, though his tone was gentler. I know, Vanessa admitted, a tear sliding down her cheek. Vanessa looked up surprised. What do you mean? They're learning from you, Heather explained. Every time you do something like this, you're teaching them that winning matters more than integrity. Do you really want them to believe that? Sometimes the simplest truths are the most powerful. You're right, Vanessa acknowledged after a moment. This surprised me. The twins had always seemed to follow their mother's lead without question. Perhaps they had more of their father's moral compass than I had given them credit for. Mrs. Wilson, Miss Thompson, the competition board would like to speak with both of you. There has been a complaint filed regarding yesterday's incident with Heather's costume. The official stepped forward. Who filed a complaint? One of the other parents witnessed you entering the dressing room and later saw the damaged costume, the official explained. If the twins get disqualified because of me. Vanessa trailed off, looking genuinely distressed. Please, Heather persisted. I am not pressing charges or making a formal complaint. My costume wasn't actually damaged. As you can see, I will be performing in the finals today with my real dress. Heather and I anticipated potential issues and took precautions. No harm was done to her actual competition costume. After some discussion, the official agreed to take this proposal to the board. She and Miss Diana departed, leaving our family alone again. I didn't do it for you, honestly, Heather replied. Eric laughed, breaking the tension. That's my competitive girl. Mom, everyone is talking about what happened yesterday, Tiffany said without preamble. Shannon's mom told us you might get us disqualified. The twins looked at their cousin with surprise. You did that for us? Brooke asked. Family is complicated, but we're still family. There was an awkward moment, years of tension and rivalry hanging in the air between the three girls. And good luck today. You were amazing yesterday. You too, Heather replied, returning the hug. Later, as Heather and I were preparing in our hotel room, she asked, Do you think Aunt Vanessa will really change? I considered the question carefully. It's sad, really, Heather mused as I helped pin her hair. Sometimes people are so focused on competition that they forget about cooperation. All 6 finalists performed beautifully, making the judges' job extremely difficult. Heather danced even better than the day before, if that was possible, while the twins executed their routine with more emotional connection than I had ever seen from them. When the time came for the results, all the finalists stood on stage holding hands, a show of solidarity that brought tears to my eyes. The head judge placed a crystal trophy in her hands and draped a satin sash across her shoulder. I found myself crying openly, all the emotion of the past 2 days overwhelming me. She really did it. The drive home that evening was filled with excited chatter as Heather processed her victory and the implications for her future. The scholarship would give her access to training from world-class instructors and exposure to professional company directors, potentially opening doors that had previously seemed out of reach. Believe it, Eric told her, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. You earned every bit of that success with your hard work and, frankly, your character. Standing up for your cousins after what happened took real integrity. Speaking of which, I said, turning in my seat to face Heather. I learned it from you, Mom, she replied. As parents, we often wonder if the lessons we try to impart actually sink in. I had a long talk with Vanessa before we left, Eric said, keeping his eyes on the road. She has agreed to start seeing a therapist to work through some of her competitiveness issues. Apparently, the twins have been asking her to get help for a while now. That's a positive step, I acknowledged, feeling cautiously optimistic. Family healing takes time, but recognizing there is a problem is the first step. You know, the kind that can have holiday dinners without someone trying to sabotage someone else's career. Define normal, Eric replied. Just maybe not as a bodyguard anymore. More like a consultant. It was a sight I never thought I'd see. That summer, when Heather left for the intensive program in New York, the entire family, including Vanessa and the twins, came to the airport to see her off. Vanessa handed her a gift, a beautiful leather dance journal. It was this. Heather's dream was no longer just her own. It had become a beacon of hope for all of us. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone tried to stand in the way of your dreams? How did you handle it? Your support means the world to me and helps me continue sharing these personal stories. Thank you for joining me today, and remember that sometimes the greatest victories happen not on a stage, but in the quiet moments when we choose integrity over retaliation.